Telephones Over the Years by S. J. Brown. The genre is expository nonfiction. This week's vocabulary are the words automatic, determined, inventor, system, technology. When you want to talk to someone who is far away, what do? Most likely, you pick up your telephone and make a call. These days, you can call almost anybody anywhere in the world. You just push a few buttons. As you are about to learn, things were not always like that. The first telephone was built by inventor Alexander Bell in 1876. It used electricity to send people's voices over wires. Until then, there was no way to talk to someone in a different place. Once the phone was invented, it didn't take long for people to want one. The first city to ever have a telephone system was New Haven, Connecticut. That was in 1877, only a year after the phone was invented. Other cities soon built telephone systems as well. It would take just a few more years before people in different cities could also talk to each other. Then, phone wires were strung across the country. People in New York could talk to someone all the way in California. By 1927, you could call someone on the other side of the Atlantic Ocean. It took weeks for a boat to travel from New York to London, England, but someone in New York could call and talk to a friend in London in less than a minute. As the years went by, more and more places got telephone systems. Different kinds of technology were used to connect the systems. These days, almost everyone is just a phone call away. Before telephones, it could take weeks or even months to communicate with friends and family in distant places. Now people who live far away can talk to each other. They can share what is happening in their lives much more easily. Is there anyone you like to call who lives far away? Take a look at the picture below. Can you guess what it is? If you guessed a telephone, then you are right. This is a picture of the first telephone. It was built by Alexander Graham Bell in 1876. It is probably much different from the phone in your house. Telephones have changed a lot over the years. The pictures on these pages show you a few of the ways telephone technology has changed. Look at these phones. What do you think of them? Notice that none of them have numbers that you can push or dial. So, how did they work? Let's find out. This is the first phone that people could buy and use. People talked and listened using the same part of the phone. The part you listen at is called the receiver. The part you talk into is called the mouthpiece. This telephone hung on the wall. On this phone, the mouthpiece and the receiver are in different places. By 1930, phones were smaller and easier to use. With early phones, you would not dial a number yourself. You picked up the receiver of your telephone and an operator would answer. The operator asked whom you were trying to reach. The operator then used special equipment to call that person for you. The pictures on these pages show you the steps that were needed to make a phone call. In 1880, a man named Almon Strauger from Kansas City, Missouri, decided he didn't like the idea of using telephone operators. He thought that the operators were giving the wrong people his telephone calls. He was determined to do something about it. So he invented an automatic phone system. With his system, a caller could dial numbers and call someone directly. People no longer needed to go through an operator. By 1924, many people used Strauger's system instead of using operators. This person is calling the operator. The operator uses a switchboard to put the call through. The switchboard allows your phone line to connect to other people's phone lines. The phone rings at the place you are trying to reach. This was a Strauger phone. It was made in the late 1890s. Unlike earlier phones, this phone has a dial with numbers on it. In the early 1960s, there was another big change in telephones. Now, instead of dialing a number, you could push numbered buttons. As time went on, phones continued to change. Look at the phones on this page. Have you seen these kinds of phones? As you can see, telephones and the way we use them have changed a lot since the days of Alexander Bell. Most likely, new kinds of telephones and new ways to use them will be invented in the future. Do you have any ideas about new telephones in the future? Perhaps you will invent one someday. This kind of phone was first made in the 1940s. You can still find people using them today. This unusually shaped phone was first made in the early 1960s. This phone is called a cordless phone. People started using it in the 1980s. This kind of phone lets people move around while they talk. The very first cell phone was made in 1973. As time went on, cell phones became much smaller and more popular. Some cell phones now let you take and send pictures to people who are very far away. Now try this, phones of the future. You've just learned a lot about how phones have changed over the past years. Now it's time to think about the future. You and a partner are going to design a phone of the future. Before you and a partner begin, take some time to talk about what your phone will be like. What do you want your phone to do? Would you like to wear your phone like a ring or perhaps a watch? Your phone can do anything you want it to do, even watch a movie. Follow the steps on page 15. Glossary. Automatic, an adjective that means something that works by itself. Determined, an adjective meaning having one's mind made up. Inventor, a noun, someone who designs and creates new useful things. System, a noun, a group of things that work together. Technology, a noun, the use of science to improve or make something. Think and share. Look back through this story and try to answer some of these questions.